HICKLMNOP.
Well, how drunk you gotta be?
HQESIT.
HQES. What in the hell? Yeah, she remixed the whole alphabet right there. She remixed the whole thing. What's up, family? Welcome back to the channel. Today I got more disturbing and mind-blowing true crime TikToks. So stay locked in because you ain't gonna believe this.
Dumb criminal caught. 18-year-old in Michigan impersonated a police officer and actually conducted a traffic stop on a police officer, not realizing it. He had red and blue flashing lights on top of his BMW, and the officer asked for his identification. He said he needed to grab it, ran back to his vehicle, and sped off. The police officer followed the impersonator to his trailer park, and deputies later found him trying to switch his license plates off of that BMW. They were involved in a foot chase, and he was arrested. What's crazy is in Michigan, it's only a misdemeanor offense to impersonate a police officer. But that was how he was caught.
Lucky for him, that's all it was a misdemeanor, because everywhere else, that's a felony, bro. So yeah, he got lucky.
Dumbest ways criminals got caught. In 2012, 17-year-old Cody Connor attempted to rob a retail store in DeBary, Florida at gunpoint. The calm clerk asked him why he was robbing the place, and he said he needed money to help his sick grandparents pay their bills. Instead of giving him the money, the clerk told him they were hiring and convinced him to apply for a job. The teen put away his revolver and sat down to fill out a job application before leaving the establishment. With all of his information in hand, he was quickly arrested. He later pleaded no contest and received 10 years in prison.
Wow.
In 2010, 59-year-old Mark Smith entered a bank in Watsonville, California, and demanded $2,000 in cash. He told the bank employees he had a bomb and would detonate it if they didn't give him the money. Rather than give him what he wanted, a bank teller convinced him to take out a loan. While Smith started filling out the paperwork, bank employees contacted authorities. When police arrived at the bank, they took Smith into custody. He did not have a bomb or any weapons on him. No word on what punishment he received.
So you telling me these two, one went in a convenience store and the other one went in a bank, demanded their money, but got sidetracked emotionally and got caught, gave up all the information. Ooh, how dumb can you be, bro?
TikTok videos police say they used to track down a suspected serial robber. Those white Nike shoes with red accents match the shoes worn during 4 armed robberies. Hannah held up the 7-Eleven in Commerce Township twice. The purple and pink hair was another big clue. This TikTok was posted by Hannah the same day police say he committed the first robbery. An anonymous tip pointed Dearborn police to Hannah's TikTok profile.
I just got a feeling that these listed TikToks is going to be all about retarded, dumb criminals.
Police have arrested 31-year-old Antonio Murray. Most criminals try to avoid police stations, but in Demopolis, one tried to break into one. On August 13th and 14th, a member of the cleaning crew at this Vowell's Fresh Market grocery store allegedly crawled through the ceiling and fell right into the police precinct in the same building.
It never ceases to amaze you what people will do. It's strange that a person won't work in the police department. I've seen a lot of things in my lifetime, but never seen that before.
What? Why would you break into the police department and expect not to get caught? That's stupid. They deserved it.
This is quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. You are reporting that someone stole the that you were trying to sell them.
Sir, I'm broke. I'm just trying to make a little bit
At what point does this make any sense? At what point?
It doesn't make any
At what
sense.
point do you think telling the cops that someone stole...
I'm being honest. He's not being honest. Where's what he...
Are there in this car?
No, there isn't.
In my car.
There isn't. There isn't.
Shakira. What the heck? What the heck, bro?
469. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. I need you to come over here.
Real?
Stay right there, ladies. Sorry, sir, let me move my car for you. I'm just gonna move my car so we can get out. This is quite possibly the dumbest night of my entire life. I've never seen dumber shit. Just turn the lights off. Christ.
Yeah, that's got to be some dumb stuff, though, man. For you to admit that somebody that you was trying to sell the drugs to stole the drugs from you in front of the police. You reporting drugs stolen. Who does that? Only a dumb criminal. Okay, I hear the raindrops a little bit. I was worried about the sound for a minute. What are you doing? This is how you handle a thief in Atlanta. Yeah, I heard Atlanta got some real car thieves down there.
Hey, get out of that car. I'm videotaping you. Been watching you do it. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, you need to beat it, buddy. Yeah, smile and nod and get the fuck on down the road. Yeah, all right. Get the fuck on down the road. Don't steal people's shit from here. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? Go ahead, look up one more time so the cops can, like, get a really, really good picture of you. Keep wandering, motherfucker. Goddamn thieving.
Motherfucker. He caught him though in 4K. He caught him in 4K. Oh man.
Hi, my name is Ethan, and here's everything you need to know in under 1 minute. This is 24-year-old Scott Simon, who lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. On May 5th of 2013, he accidentally butt dialed 911, where he exposed his plan to police. On the call, he claimed that he was going to follow and unalive the victim on his way home, who was later discovered to be 33-year-old Nicholas Walker. Just a few minutes later after the call came in, someone followed Nicholas and shot him in his car while he was driving on the interstate. Unfortunately, he did not survive. Police then tracked the phone number, arrested Scott, and he was charged with murder.
That was stupid, dude. Damn, man. Like, it's the most dumbest criminals that's out here committing all these murders. It's the dumb ones. Smart ones, you wouldn't even know they committed murder. Nah, for real. Like, the dumb ones wear murder as a badge of honor. Just stupid.
Vicky and Casey White, what in the hell were y'all doing? So let me find out you helped him leave jail, escape jail, just to go up to Indiana and hide out for a couple weeks? Now, y'all know I was a fugitive for 15 years. I know the situation. You didn't catch me in a little small town Indiana hiding. And y'all had a 6-hour head start. If anything, you should have went to southern Alabama. You know why? There's the Gulf of Mexico. You had all that money in cash. You just sold your house. You could have jumped on a boat and you could have had somebody cruise you down to Mexico. But no, you went to Indiana and y'all paid some little homeless guy to stay in a little motel, crackhead motel for a week. Does this make sense to y'all? You was a cop. I thought you was smarter than this. You a criminal and got away with all these murders. Thought you was smarter than this. Y'all some boneheads for this. Next time, call me. Call me, the real fugitive.
In deplorable living conditions.
The 12 and 3-year-old were left alone to fend for themselves for nearly 2 months. ABC 13's Brooke Taylor is live outside the home where all of this happened. Brooke?
Yeah, all of this really hard to believe. Now, the mom left about a few months ago, but they moved into this home a year ago, and the children were never enrolled in school in Texas. So officials tell me it was really easy for all of this to just go unnoticed. Inside this home, a nightmare for two young children, 12 and 3 years old. Roman Forest Police Chief Stephen Carlisle says they were abandoned for nearly 2 months.
There was no food in the house. Everything was empty. There was some dry beans and some spices is about it.
Their mother, Raven Yates, left them in late September, he says. There's been a warrant out for her arrest since December. Investigators say the 12-year-old never told anyone because she was threatened by what might happen to her little brother. They have different fathers.
And she was afraid that her father was going to take her and leaving the 3-year-old by himself.
Fearful, she obeyed. She'd call her father, saying mom was working and he would send food. According to police, he's a music producer in California. He called police once family members spotted Yates in Mobile, Alabama, where she's from, without her kids.
When he got a call from his ex-mother-in-law and they put 2 and 2 together, he caught the first plane over here.
Investigators shocked to see how they were living.
The officers checked the bedroom of the children and discovered heavy urine odor coming from the 3-year-old's bed.
Yates continues to be active on social media, posting to her thousands of followers. As investigators work with Mobile police to arrest the 31-year-old's mom, She's wanted on 2 counts of abandoning or endangering a child without intent to return. She hasn't responded to our messages.
A 12-year-old
crazy.
cannot take care of a 3-year-old for a long period of time. It's dangerous, especially over a month and a half. It's dangerous, it's irresponsible of the parent.
Now, Yates also has a 14-year-old girl. She was reported as a runaway around the same time when police say she left the younger children. Tonight, though, police tell me all 3 children have been reunited. They are safe and they are with a family member in Alabama.
Man, that woman should be in jail, bro. But the 14-year-old daughter was there, ran off and left the other 2 kids there by themselves? Where did she go? Did she even tell anybody that her brothers and sisters was at the house by themselves? Like, what kind of behavior was the 14-year-old displaying? Like, we can't let that slide either. She should have known better. That's crazy, man.
Most dumbass criminals to ever exist. 23-year-old Blake Lean was trying to break into a local mini-mart and then soon was being chased by police. Eventually, the police got a little too tired to chase him and he was able to get away for a bit. He needed somewhere to seek refuge while hiding from the cops, so where did he go? Well, out of all the places to hide in, he chose the Sing Sing maximum security prison. Scottish shoplifter Aaron Morrison decided to steal a bottle of vodka from a local liquor store. Even though the store had no security cameras or anything, police found him and arrested him very quickly. How did they do it so fast? Well, Mr. Romeo decided to leave his name and phone number with the clerk after asking her out on a date. A trio of drug thieves broke into a home in Silver Springs, Florida. And in the home, they found 3 jars of cocaine that they quickly snatched. But soon after, they realized that it wasn't baking soda that they were snorting. Upon taking a closer look, they realized that the jars that they stole were urns, and that they just snorted the cremated ashes of the victim's husband and 2 dogs.
Nah, bro. Yeah, that's crazy right there, bro.
You familiar with the English alphabet?
Yeah.
Could you recite the alphabet from start to finish without singing it?
Yeah.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
A, C, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, F, N, G, H, I, C, K,
What?
L, M, N, O, P, H,
Bro, how
Q,
drunk
E,
you gotta be?
H, Q, E, S, I, T, E.
HQES. What in the hell? Yeah, she remixed the whole alphabet right there. She remixed the whole thing.
Police officers, disobeying rules and sometimes resorting to violence. But what happens when things escalate and they attack the officers? Here are 7 unbelievable moments when dumb suspects try to attack cops.
310.2, can we get in that unit? Subject to treason.
Starting with 25-year-old Miguel Salas, who on August 1st, 2017, was confronted by Las Vegas police officer Nelson and his partner after a person called 911, reporting that he had tracked his stolen cell phone to the truck Miguel was in. However, what began as a routine investigation quickly escalated into a nightmare.
Do you have anything illegal on you? Guns, knives, drugs, anything like that? No? Okay. Why don't you step up? Why do you want me to step out? What's that? Why? Because we're trying to figure out what's going on while you're sleeping here and stuff like that, and we're getting calls on you. So, okay, well, I'll just ask you to step out, man. Why? Because I'm going to do my business over here. I don't like doing it over here. You've been fiddling around everywhere. You don't know where your ID's at and stuff like that, so I want to do it out here. Don't be fiddling around. I know where it's at. Well, I'm telling you, don't be looking around. I'm just looking. Okay, we don't want you to dig around. That's why we're pulling you out of the car. Dude, just get out of the car. Just get out of the car. Come on. Like, come on, dude. Like, really? I'm not doing anything wrong. Okay.
Why?
We never said anything you were doing anything wrong. We wanted to do your stuff out here. We wanted... Why? Like, why? Why? There's nothing here right here. Why don't you just tuck me out here? Like, what the hell? Why don't I get pulled out of my car? Because we don't know what's in here. We're going to ask you to come over here. You guys asked me for my ID. I got stuff everywhere. Look, I got stuff all over the ground. I got stuff everywhere. Come on, dude. Really? Come on, dude. Like, why are you gonna do that? Just relax, dude. Dude, why
They're
are
so
you?
calm with him.
Why are you gonna do that?
I'm sorry. If they had been a black man,
Like, step to the front of the car. Anything.
it wouldn't have went down like that.
Let's go over here and everything will be good. Everything checked out. All right.
Not even had
During the
chance.
encounter, Miguel protests his innocence and refuses to get out of the vehicle up to the moment when Officer Nelson tries to open the car door. Little did the officer know of what was about to unfold in the next few minutes.
Why? I'm not doing anything bad. I mean, come on. Look, I mean, We want to park. Just come out here and talk to us. All right? It's not a big deal.
Wall. We don't want you digging around. We're going to ID you over here.
No, not right now. Right now. In a little bit.
This went on way longer than it would have if you know what.
Step out of the car. Why won't you step out of the car?
The situation did not de-escalate, with Miguel still refusing to cooperate. And just when Officer Nelson eventually decided to call for backup, everything finally went south.
Step out of the car, man.
Dude, why are you guys trying to get me out of my car, dude?
Because it's safer for us. We want.
Yeah, they gave him way too many chances, bro. Not saying that I wanted him to be pulled out of the truck and slammed, but I'm saying though the obvious differences though. There are obvious differences right there, bro. Like it's crazy. Like I'm gonna probably do like a series on something like that because I need people to see. Like there is a difference, like for real.
Here are some of the dumbest criminals of all time. In 2009, Joey Miller and Matthew McNelly attempted to rob a home using permanent marker as their disguise. But as the name suggests, permanent marker is rather difficult to remove, so the thieves were quickly recognized and arrested.
Stupid, man.
In 2014, an Oregon woman named Sadie Johnson started a 50,000...
That is the most stupid I have ever heard of in my life, bro. What the...
In 2014, an Oregon woman named Sadie Johnson started a 50,000-acre wildfire that ended up costing the state $8 million.
Wow.
She later told authorities that she started it because her firefighter friends were bored and needed work. Two Chicago men once tried to rob a restaurant with a squirt gun, but the owner told them to come back in an hour since he was too busy at the moment. So they did, and the police were waiting for them. In 1993, Missouri man James Scott purposely damaged a levee on the Mississippi River to delay his wife from coming home so that he could continue to party. He ended up flooding 14,000 acres of land and was sentenced to life in prison for causing a catastrophe.
Nah, man, hold up.
He ended up from coming purposely damaged a levee on the Mississippi at the moment. So they did, and the police were waiting for them. In 1993, Missouri man James Scott purposely damaged a levee on the Mississippi River to delay his wife from coming home so that he could continue to party. He ended up flooding 14,000 acres of land and was sentenced to life in prison for causing a catastrophe.
You gotta be kidding me, bro. Like, it ain't... People this dumb do not exist. These stories gotta be made up. Y'all get in the comments and y'all go and do some research and tell me if any of those are real because ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Dumb criminals caught. A man shoplifted a bottle of vodka but couldn't keep it in his pants. Before he left the store, he started flirting with a woman and left her his name and phone number, and she subsequently called police, and you know the rest.
Here's some of the dumbest crimes of the week. A Florida man has been given a citation for his truck that says Booty Patrol. While some think that the truck too closely resembles a Border Patrol truck and could cause confusion, officials say that he was given a citation because his Booty Patrol truck had red and blue flashing lights, which are banned because they could resemble a law enforcement vehicle. A 25-year-old man was arrested for pleasuring himself inside of a Target store in Iowa. His defense for the case claims that it was just a dildo and not actually his, you know. However, after...
Yeah, that don't make it no better. He a black man. As if we don't already got a bad rep.
Review of the video evidence, the prosecution can indeed confirm that the item was connected to his actual body. Furthermore, this isn't the man's first offense, as he was just recently caught doing the same thing in a laundromat just 3 months prior. His biggest mistake was doing it inside of a Target rather than a Walmart. A firefighter in Washington, D.C. has been fired after stopping at a Chick-fil-A while on his way to an emergency call. A firefighter and a paramedic were assigned to an ambulance when they received a call from a woman having chest pains. However, the firefighter claimed that the food had already been pre-ordered on the app and would stop for literally a few minutes tops. I guess this one isn't really a crime, but if my ambulance showed up with some fresh Chick-fil-A before coming to save my life, I'd be pretty pissed too.
Yeah, like for real.
It was supposed to be a night of passion and pleasure, but it ended in tragedy. My name is Taylor Shabuznis, whose real name is Taylor Denise Coronado. I was convicted of the murder of my lover, Shad Therian, in February 2022. The details of the crime are gruesome and shocking. I strangled Therian to death during a meth-fueled tryst in the basement of Therian's mother's Green Bay home. I then stabbed his head and penis with kitchen knives, I admitted to investigators. I was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on September 26, 2023. The trial revealed that Shad and I were involved in a sexual relationship, and that we had engaged in erotic asphyxiation in prior encounters. On the night of the murder, we had used metal chains for this purpose. My motive for the murder is unclear. However, it is known that I was under the influence of methamphetamine and prescription drugs at the time of the murder. The murder came to light when Therion's mother discovered his severed head in a bucket in the basement of their family home. Other severed body parts were later discovered by police. My conviction on all 3 counts, first-degree intentional homicide, mutilation of a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault, came after a jury trial in Brown County. The case has been widely reported by various news outlets. It is a tragic reminder of how drug abuse can lead to horrific consequences. After my conviction, I was transferred to Taycheetah Correctional Institution, where I am currently serving my sentence. Life in prison is not easy. Every day is a struggle to survive and maintain my sanity. The prison environment is harsh and unforgiving. The inmates are violent and unpredictable. The correctional officers are strict and unyielding. Despite these challenges, I have found ways to cope with my situation.
Say it, bro.
I was sentenced to life in prison for a crime you would never imagine. I'm Mackenzie Sharilla, and at 17 I was in a relationship with Dominic Russo. But we were having problems and arguing a lot. So he was planning to leave the relationship, but I wasn't going to let that happen. If Dominic wasn't mine, he wasn't going to be anyone's. One day we were driving home from a party with my boyfriend and his friend. We started arguing and Dominic started talking again about leaving me. At that moment I lost my mind and I wanted to end his life. Without hesitation, I accelerated at 100 miles per hour into a wall. Both my boyfriend and his friend died instantly, and I survived with minor injuries. I claimed it was just an accident, but surveillance footage of the incident was released, and I was clearly seen accelerating into the wall. I did not speak in my defense and was sentenced to life in prison with an option for release in 15 years. I regret what I did. I wish I could ease the pain of their families. Do you think I should be given a second chance?
Hell no.
I was sentenced to life in prison for a crime you would never.
Hell no, you shouldn't. Hell no. Can they get a second chance? No. I'm not giving a second chance. Y'all kids think y'all emotions are more important than everybody else's. So when you act on them and then the outcome be messed up, then what? You can't change it now. So no, you know, second chances. Should have thought about that before you did it.
Eating human flesh for the past 20-something fucking years because of you. Everything I do is a result of the shit that you put me through. Can't drive in a car.
Don't you know that human flesh is the most delicious? Soylent Green, that was what all the people loved, was Soylent Green. They didn't know it was people, but they loved it because it was the most delicious. Sweeney Todd made his meat pies out of people. Everybody loved them. Everybody loved them.
That's not real.
So what's the big deal?
Is that real? Y'all get in the comments.
Human flesh? I just want to know, how did you even figure this? How the fuck did you even know?
Yeah, y'all get in the comments and let me know if that was real, because I don't know, man.
We got the call Sunday about this, and the person who died had been in the tub for 5 days, and she was found this weekend, and we're just now cleaning this on Wednesday, so yes. This bathtub has been like this for about a week.
Bro, what are you looking for? The drain is normally close to tub like that. Oh wow. I've never seen the water of a decaying body before. I ain't never seen that. That's crazy.
Why don't you just sit down there?
But we have cameras up for other reasons.
Right, I got you. You know he's in there for a fact?
I know for a fact.
You can kick your door. You can
I
kick it
swear
in.
to God, go ahead. Please. Just, I don't know what's wrong with this girl.
Oh, there's a girl in there with him?
Yes, I told them this. I told them this. There's a girl in there. She's very slim. My husband said he didn't really get a good look at her. But he's yelling at her. After I peek the living her face, she can't see out of her eyes.
Okay.
So this is why I'm nervous. This is why I've been calling his officer all morning, and I don't even know if that's even
You
the
know
right thing to
100%.
do.
You know 100%
I know
they're in.
100%.
Walk towards the door. Keep your hands up.
We'll cuff.
Hey, face that way.
Just keep coming. Watch your step. Right there. You get that?
There's a female in there.
And that's the way I'm used to police handling a criminal. Like that.
There's no one else up there? Where do you live at here? Thompson? How far away is that?
She's so traumatized and scared, bro.
Why don't you just sit down here?
Guys, water.
We'll get you some stuff here.
Car number 12.
That's crazy, man. Glad they found her though, but that's crazy, bro.
The case of the Dardine family was one that was deemed too gruesome for news stations and daytime television shows such as Oprah, and to this day, nearly 25 years later, it still remains unsolved. The family consisted of 29-year-old Russell Keith, wife Ruby Elaine, who was 30 and 7 months pregnant at the time, and their 3-year-old son, who they had named Peter. The growing family had recently moved to the small town of Ina, Illinois in 1986 and were living in a rented-out trailer near Route 37. And though this was a small town, it did not have a reputation for being the safest. During the past 2 years, this small town had experienced 15 homicides, including that of a 10-year-old girl that had recently been murdered in the area. This had left everyone in the town, including the Dardines, on edge, and in fact, when a woman had approached the trailer asking for help one night, Keith would flat out deny her and ask her to leave the property. The family had felt so unsafe here that Keith had told his mother, Joanne Dardine, that regardless if he had a job lined up or not, he and the family would be moving out of the small town by the end of the year. But then came the night of November 17th, 1987. Keith, who had always been described as a reliable worker, had failed to show up to work that night, and after workers and family had failed to reach either him or Elaine, they decided to contact the police. Keith's father had agreed to meet with officials at the Dardine residence, unaware of the horrors that they were about to discover. There is a major trigger warning for the rest of this episode, but once Keith's father and officials had made their way into the household, they would discover 3 bodies that were tucked inside Keith and Elaine's bed. The bodies had belonged to that of Elaine, their 3-year-old son Peter, and the newborn infant that Elaine had given birth to during the attack. All had been found deceased in the bed. Keith's body was nowhere to be found within the house, and much to the shock of the family, this led investigators to believe him to be the prime suspect in this case. But that theory would be put to rest when just the very next day, a group of hunters would find Keith Dardine's body about a mile away from their trailer. He had been found, shot 3 times, and then sexually mutilated. His car would also later be found right in front of the police department in that town. The town immediately began to swirl with rumors, as over 30 detectives had to chase down over 1,000 leads. But unfortunately, those leads really came to nothing.
Wow.
There was no sign of an affair, drug use or drug selling, or any type of gambling debt that the family could have had, and this went on for years until one solid lead came up, which I'll have to make in a part 2.
Just unalived an entire family. A family that was just starting though. Like they didn't even get a chance, bro. Like that's foul, man.
One of the untold stories of 9/11 is the fact that there were children that were on the planes that were used to crash into the World Trade Center. And their stories are never really told. Asia Cotton was one of those children. She wanted to be a pediatrician and was part of a group of exceptionally smart children that were taking a trip to a marine sanctuary when her plane was hijacked and crashed. Christina Lee Hansen was one of those children as well. She was taking her first trip to Disney. David Brandhorst was another one of those children. In 2001, he had 2 adopted fathers and referred to them as Daddy and Poppy. Juliana McCourt was another child that was taking a trip to Disney. Her uncle actually worked at the World Trade Center, but was able to make it out in time. Bernard Brown II was an exceptionally smart child on the same plane as Aisha Khatam, going to the same marine sanctuary. His father worked at the Pentagon, but was not at work when the plane crashed. Rodney Dickens was another exceptionally smart child on the same trip to the marine sanctuary when the plane crashed. He loved Pokemon and helping kids out with their homework.
Dang.
And Dana and Zoe Falkenberg, 2 sisters who were on their way to go to vacation in Australia. May they rest in peace.
Life's cut way too short.
A Barbie left on the grave of this murdered child might be used to solve her cold case. 6-year-old Rosie Tapia was abducted from her bedroom on August 13th, 1995. Her mother had gotten home at 3 a.m. and checked on Rosie in the bedroom that she shared with her siblings. They were all sleeping soundly with the window open, and her mother went to close the window but didn't lock it because the noise would wake the children. Literally just 2 hours later, her mom woke up and got a feeling that she needed to check on her children. Rosie was gone, and her body was later found floating in the nearby canal. Police determined that the screen had been pried off from the outside, and being so low to the ground, an intruder could easily get in. And unfortunately, any DNA on her body was contaminated by the canal water. And after Rosie was buried, the family found a single Barbie doll sitting on her grave. And police are hoping that DNA from the doll could be used to solve the case. Advances in DNA technology give hope that one day Rosie's case can be solved, and over 60 people have been swabbed, but no one's been arrested. There are multiple suspects in this case, including a man that was seen walking with wet jeans on the morning of Rosie's death, and this man in the hat and sunglasses that carried Rosie back to her apartment after she hurt herself on the playground the day before she died. I do a deep dive into possible suspects and theories on the murder of Rosie Tapia on my YouTube channel, Celestial Sylvia.
Yeah, that's wild, man. His life cut way too short. I don't understand that, bro. I don't understand that. How could you want to hurt a kid? Like, what in you makes you want to harm a kid? I never understand it.
In 1993, the 26-year-old daughter of Vegas casino mogul Steve Wynn was kidnapped and held for ransom by 3 men. 2 armed men abducted Kevin Wynn from her home in Spanish Trail and demanded $2.5 million from her dad for her return.
She said, "Hello, Dad. Listen carefully."
It's Kevin. I've been kidnapped.
I said, "What?"
Wynn, in a tense negotiation, slashed the ransom from $2.5 million to $1.45 million under immense time pressure. After he got that money from the Mirage casino cage, Steve discreetly placed the sum in a car 1 mile from what would become his own casino at a former locals bar called Sonny's Saloon. After collecting the ransom, the kidnappers called Wynn and told him he could find his daughter in a car at the Vegas airport. Upon arriving, Kevin Wynn was found tied up in the back of her own car, but fortunately safe. The kidnappers were arrested days later when one of them attempted to buy a $200,000 Ferrari in cash. That's just one story from life of a legendary real estate mogul.
I can almost guess which one tried to buy the damn car. Stupid. Just stupid, man.
I'm Shayna Lauren, and hatred drove me to mutilate my husband's mistress at her own funeral. It happened in 2015 in Oklahoma. I was a talented makeup artist. In 2010, I married Monty Smith, but our marriage was plagued by distrust. Monty had a reputation as a womanizer. I harassed his exes relentlessly until they got restraining orders. Friends told me they'd seen him with Tabitha Lynch, a childhood friend. He denied it, but I knew she was his mistress. For years I felt scorned, yet instead of leaving, I sought revenge. In 2015, a miracle happened. Tabitha died naturally at 38. My hatred didn't abate. When I learned of her funeral date, I offered my makeup services to the family. They accepted without suspicion. Alone with her corpse, I unleashed years of bottled-up rage. With scissors, I hacked off her hair, sliced her face, cut her breasts, even removed a toe, all in minutes. I stole her jewelry and shoes and fled. The funeral director found a ghastly scene, hair strewn across the floor. The police came to Tabitha's home looking for clues and caught me red-handed inside. I was searching for evidence of her affair after desecrating her body. Before I could find proof, they arrested me. I got 16 years for illegally dismembering and robbing a corpse, unauthorized dissection, and disrupting a funeral. I suppose my cheating husband is still up to his old tricks while I rot in jail. That's how hatred drove me to the unthinkable.
Ladies, in relationships, sometimes you just gotta let people do what they do. How did they get you? They had to say something charming, didn't it? Something to think about.
This is the truly sad story of 19-year-old Amaya Carey. She was not only kidnapped, but brutally raped and murdered. All this went down because she did not want to have a threesome with these 3 people. 34-year-old DeWitt Anderson, 19-year-old Camilla Blackman, and 37-year-old Cedric Banks. This story takes place in Jackson, Mississippi, also known as the birthplace of blues music. Amaya was a very kind and caring young woman. She wouldn't hesitate to help others, and she was also loved by many. She was the mother to a handsome young son and loved him very dearly. Amaya attended Murray High School and had a passion to become a hairstylist. She was in the cosmetology program at school and excelled very well. Amaya had a 19-year-old friend named Camilla Blackman, who she would talk to on and off. The two weren't very close, but Amaya would often help Camilla. And sadly, one day, Amaya's heart would get the best of her. On February 15, 2022, Camilla called Amaya's phone and needed a ride home. Amaya had a big heart, so she didn't hesitate to rush and help her friend. When she arrived, Camilla was with her boyfriend, 34-year-old DeWitt Anderson. The three then proceeded to go pick up DeWitt's cousin, 37-year-old Cedric Banks. They then proceeded to Camilla's home. While they were driving, a weird conversation arose about Amaya having an orgy with the three. She immediately refused, and that's when things began to get weird with them. Camilla questioned Amaya's decision on why she didn't want to have an orgy with them. That's when the two began to argue. The argument grew bigger, and the two began to fight each other. That's when Camilla's 34-year-old boyfriend, DeWitt Anderson, would do the unthinkable. As the two were arguing, DeWitt would pull out his firearm and immediately shoot Amaya, striking her instantly. She was then placed in the backseat of the car, where her lifeless body was sexually assaulted by 37-year-old Cedric Banks. They then drove miles away to a wooded area where they dumped her body and shot her an additional 2 times. Amaya's family became worried when she did not come home that night and also the following morning. A police report was made and the 19-year-old was declared missing. Close friends and relatives stated that they had seen Amaya with the trio the day she went missing. She was found days later, but it took police over months to positively identify her body. After further investigation, DNA samples, and also statements from witnesses, police gained enough evidence to charge the trio with the murder of 19-year-old Amaya Carey. The three now sit in a Mississippi jail as they await trial. This was a senseless act of jealousy, rage, and mental issues. We send our deepest condolences to 19-year-old Amaya Carey and her family. May her name live on, and we hope that she gets the justice in court that she deserves one day.
That's crazy, man. All because you refused to do something that you had the right to refuse in the first place. Ain't some sick people out there, bro. For real.
This is one of those cases that doesn't sit right with me. This is Dorothy Jane Scott. She was murdered in the 1980s, and for years, the killer tormented her family with phantom phone calls. And to this day, they are still out there somewhere. So let's dive into the story. So the story of Dorothy's disappearance is really strange. On the night of May 28, 1980, Dorothy drove 2 of her friends to the hospital, as one of them had been bitten by a spider that night. So at the end of the hospital visit, while they were waiting to get a prescription filled, Dorothy Jane walked to go grab her car and bring it up so that the 2 friends could meet her outside. And once they were outside, the friends saw Dorothy's car coming towards them, but it quickly sped off and left them there. Now, they couldn't see who exactly was in the car, who was driving, because the headlights blinded them, but in a few hours, they reported her missing because they couldn't get in contact with Dorothy. And she would be missing for years. So in the months leading up to her murder, Dorothy had acquired a stalker. She had been receiving phone calls at work from a strange, unidentified male caller. And on these phone calls, this guy would tell her how much he loved her, and then he would state that he intended on killing her soon. One day, this phantom man even told Dorothy to go outside because he left a surprise on her car, and when she went outside to look, there was a single dead rose on her windshield, which is very creepy. On one of these particularly gruesome phone calls, the caller even stated that he planned on abducting Dorothy and chopping her up into little bits so that no one would ever find her. So these phone calls obviously terrified Dorothy, and in the week leading up to her disappearance, she started taking karate lessons. Okay, so let's flash back to the night that Dorothy disappeared. Remember, her friends were waiting for her outside of the hospital when they saw her car speed by them, but they couldn't see who was inside the vehicle. At around 4:30 a.m. that morning, 5 hours or so after they saw her car speeding away, the car was found abandoned in an alleyway 10 miles from the hospital, and it was on fire, which torched all evidence that could have been in the vehicle. So Dorothy would be missing for years, 4 years in fact. But it only took 1 week after her disappearance for the killer to start calling her own parents. So about every Wednesday afternoon for a period after Dorothy went missing, this caller would call her parents and say the strangest things. He would tell them things like, "I have her." He would also claim that he was the one who killed Dorothy. He was basically tormenting her parents and saying that he knows exactly where she is and what had happened, but he was never going to tell them. Now, 4 years later, this was going on for 4 years, in April of 1984, this caller once again called Dorothy's family, but instead of her mom picking up the phone that night, her dad did. And after her dad picked up the phone calls completely stopped. That is, until a few months later. Now, in August of 1984, a construction worker would come across a set of bones that belonged to a human and a dog. And those bones were eventually revealed to be those of Dorothy's. And immediately after her remains were found, the caller once again began to call her parents. This time the police installed a recorder that bugged the family's phones. They were trying to get this guy's voice on recording and trace the phone calls, but the calls were never long enough for them to trace, and they still had no idea who this guy was. To this day, authorities still don't know how Dorothy died. And even though the phone calls eventually stopped, the killer's never been brought to justice. Now, the only suspect that's ever emerged in this case still doesn't have a name. It's the same guy that called, obviously, Dorothy's family, but it was a man who called a local newspaper just a few days after Dorothy went missing. And on this phone call, this guy said that he loved Dorothy, she had been cheating on him, and that he was the one who killed her. So that means that to this day, this killer is probably still out there somewhere, and they've never been brought to justice. This crime occurred over 40 years ago. There are no leads, and I don't think that this is a case that will ever be solved. If this killer dies, I'm sure that they're going to take this secret to the grave with them.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a horrific murder case that's happening right now out of Arizona that's still unsolved. Let's talk about what happened to Mercedes Vega. On April 16th of this year, Mercedes was abducted from the parking garage of her Tempe, Arizona apartment and brutally killed. That night, security footage shows her walking into her apartment's parking garage a little after 9 p.m. She was on her way to meet her friends and have a fun night at Dave & Buster's, but in this footage, she had no idea what was about to happen to her. Sometime before making it to her car, she was attacked and taken by at least 2 people, and the details that follow are still a mystery. A little after 1 a.m. the next morning, the Department of Public Safety was called in to investigate a car that was on fire along the side of Interstate 10 in Tonopah. Upon arriving to the scene, they found Mercedes' burned body in the back seat, and she was deceased. In the last few hours of her life, she was tortured, and according to the medical examiner, she had been shot in the arm, had blunt force trauma to her head, and had traces of bleach in her throat. But all of this did not kill her. She ultimately died from smoke inhalation while being burned alive in that car. Investigators also found gloves and bleach in the front seat and lighter fluid in the back.
You know what? If they try to get away with something like that now, bro, it's nearly impossible unless you're just a forensic genius, because technology has come so far now, bro. Yeah, ain't nobody getting away with murder these days. They might run for a while. They ain't getting away.
But there are still a ton of questions that remain in this case, and nothing about this makes any sense. The car that Mercedes was found in was not her car. Her car, which was a 2019 Dodge Charger, was found abandoned near Mill Avenue in Tempe. She was not burned in her own vehicle, and so far, investigators still don't know who the car she was found in belongs to. One of the big questions in this case is, how did her car get from her apartment to where it was found? And who drove the other car to Tonopah? Mercedes' parents believe that this was a targeted attack and that death wasn't the ultimate goal, but that Mercedes fought back, which resulted in her death. Her parents mentioned that she danced at a club 2 nights a week, and many question if her death could possibly be connected back to someone she met while at work. It's now been 7 months, and Mercedes' murder is still unsolved. Whoever committed this vicious attack is still out there. Right now, there is a silent witness award of up to $2,000 for information leading to an arrest. But if you'd like to donate to up that reward or to report a tip, please contact the number on the screen. For more information on this case and to show your support, please follow this account that was created for Mercedes that's run by her family. She and her family deserve justice.
Yeah, y'all can go back and rewind it and get that information if y'all want to donate, man. But that's crazy, man. Condolences to her family, though.
This is the aspiring rapper who was found inside the 55-gallon barrel on a beach in Malibu, California. It's believed his death is connected to the murder of Pop Smoke. The victim is 32-year-old Javonta Murphy, and he left behind a son. On August 1st, a lifeguard found his body stuffed inside of this barrel. This is his brother, Haquan Murphy. He is one of 5 men who were suspected to have been involved in Pop Smoke's murder, which happened in 2020, and all 5 of them are believed to belong to a South Los Angeles gang, and some of these individuals are believed to be linked to a homicide that happened at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. But it turns out the Haquan was actually cleared as being a suspect. I was looking at Javonta's Instagram, and he seemed to really be passionate about making music and wanting to be a successful rapper.
Hey, I'm gonna go viral. Watch. I'm gonna go viral. One of these reels, I'm gonna go viral. It's just a matter of fucking time before I go viral.
The story is really sad, really gruesome. There's no suspect currently, and it's just a mystery. There's talk on the internet that maybe this is gang-related or a retaliation killing of some sort, but this is just shrouded in mystery. My condolences to Javonta and his family.
Man, that's foul, bro. Imagine if he was the wrong person. Just an innocent dude who got caught up. Man, it's rough out there, man. Rest in peace to that kid, man.
Watch this woman lie on camera about her stepmom's murder.
She was just a beautiful person, and she didn't deserve for this to happen to her. You know, it's been all over the news. It's tough because, like...
Oh, she did it?
I've never had anything like this happen to me before. I've never seen anyone die right in my face before. I just want them to find, if anybody knows anybody, if anybody that has any information, please help us to find out who did this to my stepmother, please. Please, and just protect your family. Like, if you love your family, just let them know, because life is too short.
This kind of reminds me of that white guy that killed his neighbor, but got interviewed by the news people. When he realized that the police had found the body, he had to go sit down. Yeah, I did a video on that, but it's crazy, though. It's crazy.
This is the tragic and heartbreaking story of Aliana DeFries. Aliana DeFries was the daughter of Damon DeFries and Donisha Cooper. Although Aliana's parents were no longer together, they remained cordial enough to share the responsibility of raising Aliana in 2 separate households. Aliana was in the 7th grade and attended Village Prep Woodland Hills in Cleveland, Ohio. She was 14 years old and had a developmental disability, which is described as a diverse group of conditions one may have due to an impairment in physical, learning, language, or behavioral areas. These conditions often surface during the developmental period of adolescence and may impact day-to-day functioning. Once developed, these conditions may last throughout a person's entire lifetime. Despite this, Aliana was a high-functioning kid who was smart, and she would take the bus to school, which was a mode of transportation that her mother didn't approve of. But due to circumstance, and against her better judgment, she allowed it. But on January 26th, 2017, all of those fears would come rushing back to the surface. It was around 4 p.m. when Aliana's mother became concerned that she hadn't returned home from school. So she makes a phone call to Aliana's stepmother, Watanya. "Did you all pick up Aliana from school? Because she never came home," she asked. After Watanya responds and tells her no, Donisha immediately hangs up and contacts the school, where they confirm all of her motherly instincts and fears. They tell her that Aliana DeFries never made it to school that morning. I imagine that hearing this caused her heart to sink to the bottom of her stomach. It's a parent's worst nightmare come to life. Donisha, now in a panic, anxiously calls 911 to report Aliana missing.
Cleveland 911, dispatcher Milan, please fire ambulance. I want to report a missing child. How old is the child?
A citywide search is launched in hopes of finding Aliana somewhere alive. In order to obtain any clues as to her last known whereabouts, investigators decided to retrace her steps, starting with the last place she was seen, the RTA city bus. And they're in luck, because the RTA transit system has a working camera system in place that records every trip made that day. And on the morning of January 26, 2017, CCTV shows Aliana boarding the city bus. As investigators watch intently to see who she may have come into contact with, they discover another young student that appears on camera speaking to Aliana. The body posture and facial expressions of the young man and Aliana
If she
tell
had a mental
investigators
condition,
that
why
they
was
both
she
know
riding
one
the
another
bus
well.
by herself?
As they continue to watch, Aliana exits the bus, and the young boy stays aboard. They now know that the young man had nothing to do with her disappearance, but they watch the exterior cameras intently to see what exactly happens once Aliana exits the bus and walks down the sidewalk. As the bus moves along its route, Aliana can be seen standing on the corner waiting to cross as she moves out of frame slowly. But investigators know from speaking to Danisha that Aliana takes not one, but 2 buses to get to school.
Oh my
So they cue
gosh.
up the video surveillance from the other bus she would have taken. And there she is. Normally, the bus would drop her off almost exactly in front of her school. But for reasons unknown, on this day, Aliana is seen exiting the bus prematurely. She ends up getting off of the bus too early, and the question everyone wants to know is why. Was she meeting with someone? Did something happen to change her plan to head straight to school? As investigators continue to comb through the footage following Aliana's tracks on CCTV, the police are actively searching the city. A day passes, then 2, and then 3. And as authorities follow the trail of footage, it leads them to a row of abandoned houses just off of East 93rd Avenue, where Aliana was last seen walking. Police search through the houses until they reach an abandoned black and white house that has been boarded up from the outside. But as they search more thoroughly, they find that the back door is open. So they enter, and as they make their way into the dining room, they spot a trail of blood leading from the dining area down a hallway and into another room behind a closed door, where the gut-wrenching feeling in their pit of their stomachs tell them that something horrific is awaiting. So they kick down the door and enter, where they find the body of a young girl left crumpled in a dark corner in a pool of her own blood. The only article of clothing the body has on it is a pair of socks. Police radio for forensic staff and begin to process the scene. Soon after, word of mouth begins to travel about the discovery of a body found in the abandoned house, and within hours, the news reaches Aliana's father and stepmother. Eager to get answers, they both rush to the scene, where numerous officers have now filled the area. They won't let them through, but in their hearts, they know that it's their daughter's body who authorities have discovered. The coroner's report and DNA samples collected would eventually confirm their worst fears, that the young female found was in fact Aliana DeFries. A warning: this next part of the story will be graphic in detail, but I feel it's necessary to help paint the gruesome picture of what investigators witnessed with their own eyes. Police identified and recovered several items and tools that were used to kill and torture Aliana DeFries. There was a box cutter that was used to slash her neck. A Black & Decker drill was used to inflict 4 separate puncture wounds into her cheek, and a wound on her forehead that dislodged her right eyeball from the socket.
Oh my God, man.
Police also found a screwdriver and hammer, which had Aliana's blood on them. The tools were all laid out on a built-in bench in the dining area, which prosecutors described as a makeshift workstation. In addition to her surface wounds, the examiners also found that she was sexually assaulted, finding foreign DNA evidence on her body. What makes this even more disturbing is that they also found that many of the wounds inflicted had begun to heal, which meant that the majority of them were inflicted several hours before Aliana's eventual death. She was brutally tortured while she was alive, to the point that her face was completely unrecognizable. Investigators continued to follow the trail of CCTV footage, eventually acquiring surveillance from a church near East 93rd Street, where Aliana was seen walking. The footage showed Aliana walking and being stopped by a large figure. You can see Aliana take a step back from the figure, startled, and she attempts to continue on her way. But this figure follows and grabs her before leading her across a field to Fuller Avenue, and eventually the house where the brutal assault took place.
My gosh.
Rewinding the footage back from the church, they could see that the figure had been pacing around the area aimlessly several hours before coming into contact with Aliana. The person on video is eventually identified as Christopher Whitaker. A convicted felon was somehow allowed to live alongside the Commonwealth despite having a history of violence and abuse. After murdering Aliana, Whitaker assisted a pastor at a missionary Baptist church in unloading food pantry items from a truck. The pastor, when interviewed, described Whitaker's demeanor as calm. After his capture, this animal had the audacity to tell authorities that he didn't want his face to be in the news. He also blamed his actions on crack cocaine and said that he blacked out during the assault. "People are going to look at me like a monster. I'm not a monster," said Whitaker, though he would later change his tune in court. But the evidence said the opposite and told the true story of a murderous monster who should have never been allowed to breathe air. The Aliana DeFries murder trial began on February 1st, 2018, and on February 13th, this revolting degenerate was found guilty of 10 counts. Aliana's father and mother gave heartbreaking testimonies at trial.
Excuse me, so I can look at this bitch-ass dude.
You're addressing the court, Mr. DeFries, not...
I said enough. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. With respect to sentencing as to the non-capital charges, Mr.
I don't know how the dad was able to contain himself, because I couldn't have done it.
Sentenced to death on March 26th.
I couldn't have done it.
48 years in prison for his crimes, including gross abuse of a corpse. He is currently imprisoned on death row at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Ohio. Aliana's parents are on record saying that death is too good for him, and that they wanted a verdict of life in prison, without the possibility of parole. But I respectfully disagree. Christopher Whitaker is a prime example of an animal who needs to be put down. Someone who the world will be much better off without once he's in the ground. A witness also came forward saying that they saw Whitaker grab Aliana and lead her away, but he didn't report it to authorities because he was unsure of the relationship between the two.
Don't matter.
When you look at the size of
gotta start intervening
compared to the small frame of Aliana, you can't help but put yourself there in the moment. I imagine the amount of terror and fear she felt.
Man.
It's absolutely soul-crushing to think that someone could do this to this little girl who had everything to live for. In January of 2019, Aliana's parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, the E-Prep and Village Prep Woodland Hills, where Aliana attended school, the city of Cleveland, the man who owned the abandoned house where the crime took place, and Christopher Whitaker. The lawsuit pointed out that there was a system in place at school to alert and notify parents with an automated message if their child was absent. But neither of Aliana's parents received a notification and did not find out about her absence until 4 p.m. that afternoon. In January of 2022, the DeFries family received a $1 million settlement from their lawsuit against Aliana's school and the city. May the soul of Aliana DeFries rest in eternal peace. And may her parents somehow find solace in the wake of her tragic end. Here I lay me down to sleep, To thee, O Lord, I give my soul to keep. Wake I ever, or wake I never. To thee, O Lord, I give my soul to keep forever.
And it's sad, man. They got to live with that, bro. How do you live with losing a child like that, bro? How? Well, YouTube, that was for entertainment and educational purposes only. And I want to give a bit of commentary on this. And it's not even long. I'm going to just say this, man. I just wish, and condolences to the family, man, to the mom and the dad and all the other relatives, man. I just wish that she did not have to go to school on a bus. This would have prevented that. That would have never happened, man. But rest in peace to her.
Today's true crime story is pretty chilling, okay? This one even scared me, right? But anyways, this has some very disturbing and graphic details. Viewer discretion is advised. In the early 1900s in Bavaria, Germany, the Gruber family lived in this farmhouse called the Hinterkaifeck. The family consisted of husband and wife Andreas and Kazilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, and Victoria kids Joseph and Kazilia. The family noticed a lot of strange things going on around the house. Andreas noticed a set of keys that were missing, and also there were footprints in the snow leading from the woods to the house, but there was never no footprints ever leaving the house. There was also a newspaper in the house that Andreas never remembered buying, and it looked as if someone was trying to pick at the lock on the shed. While all these strange things were going on, they had a maid at the time, and the maid was like, "Look, I gotta quit. This house is haunted." The family kept hearing noises in the attic, and the maid just like, "Look, I can't be here anymore. The noises in the attic, all the stuff going on around here, I can't do it." Although strange things continue to happen in the house, the family ends up hiring a new maid named Marie. What the Gruber family did not know was that those strange things would lead to their murder. On the evening of March 31st, 1922, the Gruber family was murdered. Victoria's son Joseph was killed in his crib, and Maria was killed in her bed. What's so crazy about this is that same day, March 31st, 1922, that was the same day that the maid Maria was hired. Meanwhile, the rest of the Gruber family was found murdered in the barn, and they were stacked on top of each other. When people in the town didn't see the family for days, they grew concerned, and the police came to the house, and then that's when they discovered all the bodies. All the victims were killed by a pickaxe, but the police were so puzzled about something. The family wasn't found until 6 days later, but it seemed like someone had made themselves at home. Police noticed that food was being eaten, the animals were being fed, someone was sleeping in the beds, sitting on the furniture, things like that. For years, the police were looking for the suspect or suspects, but they couldn't find anybody. So the case was closed in 1955, and the year after the murders, the whole farmhouse was demolished. To me, I feel like someone was able to sneak into the house without the family's knowledge and was living in the attic for months.
Yeah, that's wild.
This is the man that was sitting next to the woman on the plane, and I'm going to show you guys the footage from the body cams of the police officers when they talked to him.
Yeah, she just pushing me like, are you at the part of the, I don't know who's talking to in the phone. Okay. So I was just sitting right here, and she just got me pushing me, and then she just...
Did she say anything before that to you? No?
No.
And you didn't say anything to her?
No.
Are you okay? You hurt?
Yeah. No, I'm okay.
You sure?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I held my flight, so it's just going to be like 20 minutes.
Okay.
So that unsolved mean, what does that mean?
Assault? It means to attack, to fight somebody, to push them, hurt them, right, to bring some kind of harm, bodily injury.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. No, she just pushed me.
You don't want to do anything about it? It's okay. Okay. All right. I'm okay. Do you mind if I get your information real quick?
And you know what's crazy about that whole situation is that they said the lady had been drinking, which isn't uncommon on planes. I've seen instances of a lot of people being drunk on a plane. So that could have been the whole spark of the situation right there, man. But hey, who knows?
Who killed the man who invented a water-powered car? In 1996, Stanley Allen Mayer invented a car that could travel 180 kilometers on 1 gallon of water. His invention could change the world, and people flocked from all over the country to catch a glimpse of the car in action. However, that was when things took a turn for the worst. On March 21st, 1998, Stanley and his brother were at a restaurant with 2 potential foreign investors where he was served some cranberry juice.
Oh, wow.
After taking a sip, his face turned pale and he started to violently vomit. He ran out into the parking lot where he yelled, "He poisoned me," and fell onto the ground dead. 1 week later, his garage was broken into and his car was stolen, never to be seen again. His death was eventually ruled as a natural cause, but many believe that the people who ran the oil and gas industry was responsible for his death.
And it's wild because there was a black man who got killed in that recent mass shooting, security guard guy who had created a hydrogen car, a car that ran straight on hydrogen, right? Water power, basically. And he was killed in that mass shooting, and they want to say that that's why the mass shooting happened. We will never know, man. But learning how to get a car to run on hydrogen, it ain't hard. It's not hard. It's one of the easiest things you can do. So I don't even understand why they would want to kill somebody. I mean, then again, it makes sense. If you're doing it yourself in your own backyard and you try to get your car to run off of it, then it's probably fine. But if you're trying to get it mass produced, then yeah, you're stepping on some toes now because you try and put us out of the gas business, buddy. What you doing? And I think Toyota or Mazda, one of them already got like a hydrogen running car. But yeah, I don't really know how that worked. But y'all get in the comments and tell me what y'all think. Hey, if you like what you saw, make sure you hit that like button. Let's get this video to 100 likes or even 1,000 if you can. Subscribe if you haven't already. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Also, go over to the Discord. Join, it's free. Send me videos you want to see me react to. I know there's plenty of stuff out there I haven't even looked at yet, but go ahead and do that, man. But until next time, folks.